Hey everyone, this is Mike Andes, and you're listening to the Business Bootcamp Podcast. And yes, today we're talking about why you should tell your employees what you're getting paid, as well as every other expense and income item on your profit and loss statement. So before we jump into that, I want to say a big thank you to today's sponsor, which is Gusto. If you haven't already, go to gusto.com/bootcamp. And then that's going to give you a free 90-day trial. So you can go on their regular website, gusto.com, and see about all their features and everything about their website. But make sure you go to /bootcamp because that's going to get you 3 times the amount of trial time. So usually you can go to their gusto.com, figure out, do a 30-day trial. They're giving us a 3-month trial as part of just us as listeners for Business Bootcamp Podcast. They've been an amazing sponsor for the show, allowing me to really reach more and more entrepreneurs. I really appreciate them, and I would really appreciate if you check them out and see if they're a great fit for your payroll services and for what you're doing for your employees' benefits. So check that out, gusto.com/bootcamp. Now today, the title is not clickbait. The title is not clickbait. This is why I feel you should tell your employees what you're getting paid and what your salary is. And this is not theorization. This is not something I'm going to try. This is something I have implemented the past couple years in my businesses, and something that I will continue to do and will get more and more transparent with as I continue to grow my businesses. Knowing very well that there is downsides and that there is risks to doing this within an organization, and fully open eyes to exactly what the pitfalls of having such a transparent relationship with your employees can be. And so, first, before we jump into that, I'll say, what is the main reason most small business owners do not share their profit and loss statement with their employees? Why is that? And I'm not trying to put them down or say they're less or that's negative. This is a fact. This is reality. The risk of sharing your numbers with your employees is that they can use it against you. So they can use it against you in terms of how much they're getting paid versus you. They can go against you in terms of where you're allocating funds within the company, whether it be to more equipment versus increasing payroll, or you're allocating it towards not enough to training versus safety, like so many different things. If you make your profit and loss statement completely transparent to your organization, there's a lot of things that they're going to be able to pick up on right away. They're going to be able to pick up exactly what your intent is with the business. In terms of, you can talk all day long about the vision of the company, where you want it to go, but if they see your financial statements and what that company is bringing in terms of income, as well as spending in terms of expenses, they will know, and they'll be able to see through whatever you say in terms of what is the company's future, what are we trying to do, where are we investing the money, are we really investing in the team, or are we actually investing in making sure that we get 5 weeks vacation for the owner and a bigger house next year. Like, they're able to see that if they see the true P&L. And so the reason most owners will not do this is because they're afraid that by showing everyone that they're making a bunch of money, that they're going to somehow alienate their employees. And this is not to say that you need to do what I do in terms of leaving all the money back in the business and growing it and really focusing on the long term. Like, this is not the point. If you are taking money out of your business right now, that's perfectly fine. If that's what aligns with your goals and what you want out of that company, that's what you should do. If you're wanting a boat and taking the 5 weeks vacation and traveling to Europe a couple times a year and having a bigger house, if that's what you want out of your business, that is exactly what you should do. The thing is, you need to be very transparent that is what your objective is to your employees. Do not tell them that you're wanting to expand the employees' compensation and expand the compensation plan and pay them more, or that you're thinking about long-term development of company growth, and then behind their back take so much money out of the company that it's basically starving the company from building infrastructure, hiring more people, advertising, going into new markets, thinking about long-term. It keeps the cash out of the account of the of the company that needs that cash reserve to get through the next recession or make the next big acquisition of a competitor. That is what people are afraid of. Now, this is the beautiful thing about it. If you are not afraid and your intent is clear and your intent is pure, there is nothing to hide. And that's what I find most entrepreneurs, they actually do have good intent. They do actually have a good goal and they align the financials of their business with that goal, but still they fail to show their business numbers. And that's really who I'm actually trying to target today. I'm not trying to target the person that is trying to do things behind their employees' back in terms of saying one thing and then doing a different thing with the financials of the business and running a risky P&L by taking all the cash out of the company and yet telling the employees that they're going to grow and expand and they're not going to have to lay people off if there's a recession or when there's a slowdown. Like that is being deceitful, and thus those people do not show their P&L to their employees. That's not who I am targeting this episode to today. I am targeting this at the people who have clear intent. They know what they want their business to do for them and for their employees and for the future of the company. They have clear goals. And their financials of the business align with that goal. And it's very clear that the financials are pointing towards the North Star of the business. And I'm talking to those people because still a lot of them will not show the profit and loss statement. And that's who I'm trying to target today, to try to convince you that in your scenario, it is in your best interest financially and from a cultural standpoint in your business to show the P&L to your employees. They should know exactly what you make. They should know exactly how much you're putting in towards the employee wages, exactly how much you pay for insurance, exactly how much you pay for fuel, exactly how much you pay for rent, exactly how much you pay for licensing and insurance. Like these are the things that you should share with your employees. And this is what I laugh about. Why do owners constantly tell me that they are baffled by their employees that do not care about the business or do not put as much effort into the business as them? And they will tell me, I work like 12 and 13 hours a day, but I can't get these lazy people to come and work for me for 6 or 7 hours without taking breaks and getting on their phones and all this millennial stuff. Like, I hear it and I get it. I see it too. But at the end of the day, if you're not going to show them the behind the scenes of the business, how do you expect them to operate in the same way that you would? Everyone's trying to create systems and procedures and hire the right people that is going to clone them or do the job the way they do it themselves to try to systematize and get out of the business or whatever, get out of the field. But at the same time, they're not willing to give the same information that they have in their head to their employees. The only reason you as the owner work the 12 and 15 a day hours is because you know what the behind the scenes, you know what the P&L looks like, you know what the expenses are, you know what you made last week, you know what you're spending next month on R&D, like you know those things. Well, guess what? If your employees do not know those things, if they do not know the financials of your business, how can you expect them? How can you expect them to make decisions that are in the best interest of those P&Ls to get better? And so I'd really encourage you to do this. I'm going to talk about why. It's something that we have implemented very strongly in the past couple years and even more so in the past few months. It's risky. And literally as I'm talking about this, I'm dealing with an issue of, because of our transparency, having an issue within the company. Like I'm dealing with it literally right now as we speak. And so I am not naive to the issues that this sort of model creates, but the upside that this model, this way of thinking about your team and your employees will absolutely revolutionize your business and completely outweigh the downside of what the potential pitfalls are. So I'd encourage you to look at a book. It's rare that I ever recommend books that I really haven't even read. But this book is called Open Book Management. It's by John Case, and it's an older book. And unfortunately, it's not an Audible. And it was literally written 20 some odd years ago. But it's a concept that matters, and I think it's valuable. And the reason I don't ever read books, literally besides religious literature, basically do not read books. And so I didn't actually read this book. I read the headlines and I kind of skimmed through the whole thing in about 30, 40 minutes, and I loved it. And one day I'll probably read the whole thing. But I'd encourage you to read this and get some really good ideas. And if you don't take my word for it in the next 15, 20 minutes or this episode, maybe the 4 or 5 hours it takes to read this book will convince you otherwise. Because there's so many incredible accounts of businesses being turned around by implementing this type of management where you have an open book and you share your profit and loss statement and everyone knows where the money is being spent, how much you're making, and all of those things. So, recently in our business, we have our meetings as a team twice a year, and we go over the financials in terms of kind of higher level things like revenue, profitability, things like that. But recently, we've taken it to another level, and what we did is really go through the profit and loss statement in detail. Now, this is another thing that people bring up, another objection as to why they should share their numbers with their team, is they're like, well, they don't really care, or they don't want to look at spreadsheets, or they don't want to look at a whole bunch of numbers in Excel or QuickBooks. And okay, I'll give that to you. Cool. Let's assume that no one in your business likes numbers. All right? Maybe you're in an industry like mine, landscaping, where most of the people are not going to be thrilled about math and calculations and seeing a ton of digits on a spreadsheet. And that's, for the majority of people, that's the way it is. It's not going to move them to see that. It might move you, because that is your take-home pay at the bottom line. That very bottom is your take-home pay as the owner. But to them, it's just going to be a bunch of numbers. So what we did, and I'd recommend this if you feel free to steal this, took a whole bunch of $1 bills, went to the bank, got a whole ton of $1 bills. Each one of these $1 bills signified $10,000. So what I had my office assistant do is take the P&L, break it down into 15 expense categories, and then basically exactly how much did we spend on each one of those categories. Then what we did, we played a game. It was called Guess the Number. So what we did is we went through each of the entire profit and loss statement, went through every single expense category on the chart of accounts. Went through every single one, explained what they meant, what that includes, like credit card processing. What does that include? Like, why do we do it? All that. And then they would have to guess. They all had a grid, and they filled in how much they thought we spent in that chart of account, or that line item, that expense item category. And so then what we did is we added them all up and saw who got closest. And that was kind of like a cool thing. And it was pretty actually amazing. One of the individuals on our crew, he got within $11,000 of our year-to-date expenditures for the company, which is amazing. So he was closest. This is pretty cool. And then what we did, since now the numbers were out, is, okay, we are going to make this visual, because I want it to be very visual as to what the company makes, how much the company profits, and then where is all the money going. So what I did is I took a big pile of $1 bills, and each one signified the $10,000 of revenue. So I took all the revenue in the business, and I basically went through every single line item. Each of the people in our organization had a line item that they had taken ownership of. So I had the office assistant put an 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, just white pieces of paper, and on each one piece of paper, they put one line item. So one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper might say taxes. The next one might be employee expenses. The next one might be payroll. The next one might be insurance and licensing. The next one might be marketing. Well, each one of those chart of accounts, each one of those expense categories went to someone within our organization. And so what happened is, as we went through the P&L then, is they would come up and take the amount of money from that stack of dollar bills that their line item required. So, for example, if we spent $50,000 on marketing, which we didn't, but if we spent $50,000 on marketing, that person that has the marketing expense would come forward and grab 5 $1 bills. All right? So you got this big pile of $1 bills. We went through the entire P&L, like employee expenses. Obviously, they come and see, you're counting like dozens and dozens and dozens of $1 bills. And they start to see this big pile of money that is kind of a wow factor at first. And they're like, wow, each one of those $1 bills is worth $10,000. And we got a stack of them. Like, wow, that's a bunch of money. But as they begin to see all the expenses go out to all the people, And the reason I did this is because it works both different sides of the brain. Like we did the first part, we guessed numbers, and you got the analytical people that are going to see the numbers and think about numbers more. Then I did this side, this more demonstration to affect the other side, more visual. And so that's why I did this $1 bill. So then obviously we go through the entire thing, and at the end of the day, we are left with a small stack of $1 bills that basically signifies the profit of the business. So what I did is we went through the entire expense thing. They all took their money away from the pile. And then I held up the small pile of $1 bills and I said, this is what we have to grow the company with. This is what we have to expand with. This is what we have to work with to make this company amazing. And it sunk in for them, not just profitability. Like, we could have talked about profitability margins, and we could have talked about, net income and all. But it's very simple. We started with a big pile of cash, and now we're down to a small amount. And we got to figure out, how do we put more money back into this pile? We got to figure out, now they begin to start thinking about that demonstration when we are anal about efficiencies and where people should be driving and what date and scheduling things efficiently. Now they begin to think, oh, the reason for that is because if we can become more efficient, that $1 bill that was in my pile ends up in the profitability pile, which allows us to grow quicker or invest back into the team and employee wages. So that's what we did. And then what we did, what is actually scheduled to be done in a couple of days, is a follow-up meeting where they are going to actually take that same chart of account, their 8.5 by 11 that they got, and they have to, over the past week, have had to come up with an idea of a way to implement better efficiency, savings, make it more profitable. That category, that thing, that expense category, how do we make that better? And then what they're going to do is they're going to present their idea to the group, and then we're going to vote, see who wins in terms of what is the best idea that we can implement, and then that person is going to win all of the $1 bill stack. That's their kind of take-home winnings. And so that's the game we're playing. We're trying to gamify it. We're trying to make it more interesting, trying to make it more contextual, trying to visualize it. Like, most people, mind just boggle when you show them like 7 and 8 digits, and then on that times a whole bunch on cells, and then like it's a spreadsheet, and it just boggles people's mind. It doesn't make sense to most people, and I don't blame them. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me until I start digging into it. Right? Like, I could sit behind a P&L all day long. I love numbers, and the reason I like numbers is because it's just so transparent and so clear how the business is doing when you start looking at one, and that's why it's so interesting to look at like public companies, because when they give a 10K or an annual report, it's just so clear as to where the company is going, what its objectives are, and what they value, and the health of the organization. And so I enjoy it. I love looking at numbers, but not everyone's like that. And so we try to make it contextual. And so I'd really encourage you to do something along those lines. Look through this book, Open Book Management, and see if you can come up with another idea like that to make it relevant and transparent. And then they know the numbers. They know that there's a massive amount of money spent towards labor in our industry, right? And so that's why we're so trying to make labor so much more efficient. They see a massive amount of money spent on fuel. Okay, that's why we're trying to figure out efficiencies for fuel. And they start to put the pieces together instead of just looking to you as the quote-unquote boss that bosses them around, telling them what to do. But now they begin to see and think for themselves in terms of, oh, that's why we do it this way. And, oh, maybe we should do it a different way. And they actually start to give me the ideas, and that's what I love. I get so incredibly happy when they come up with ideas. Maybe they're not even great. Maybe they're horrible. Maybe we don't implement any of them. But the fact that they actually start thinking about how can we make this better, and that is the thought process they begin to work through, that to me, I get so much more excited when they come up with a better idea than when I come, get some brilliant idea in marketing or what we're going to do next, or like some idea, like whatever it is. Like, I'm much more thrilled when they come up with it, because it means that we've created an environment, we've created a culture, we've created a place that those sort of ideas can hatch, and an environment that facilitates the growth of the company from internal, instead of me from the top pushing down on what should happen within the organization. And so that to me is an absolute joy, something I love, and I really am looking forward to in a couple days when they come forward with their ideas and things. And so that's what we're doing. And so why should you do this? Number one Number one reason why you should tell your employees what you're getting paid, as well as what all the expenses of the business are. Number one, better buy-in. If your goal is to grow a bigger company, and in order to do that, you're putting a bunch of money back into the business and you're not taking a whole lot home, there is absolutely no reason your people should not know that. They will be inspired by the fact that you're willing to sacrifice personally to make sure that you grow the company. And they're going to get behind you. And it's not to say that has to be the case. If you're taking $250,000 home out of your $2 million company, there's no shame in saying, this is why I built the business. This is what we're doing. We're trying to make it more efficient. And, we're going to, you got to make sure that you have their best interest at heart too. Like if you're bringing wages down and you're taking a whole bunch of money home, that's why people don't show their P&Ls. If you're trying to, squeeze them for every dime and yet you're taking more and more money home, you probably should not share that information with your employees because you're probably going to lead to a revolt and they're going to leave. And so, but if you're in that scenario, that's not a sustainable business. That's not a sustainable way of running a company. And so, number one is buy-in. Because if they can see what the company is doing behind the scenes and what you're taking home, again, you don't have to be ashamed if you're taking a bunch of money home. You just need to be clear to them that that is the goal of the business and that the other monies that are within the organization are going towards their best interest, whether that be benefits or growing the company so that they can have a place to grow, a better position to grow into as the company ages. Like, buy-in from your people will increase exponentially if you show them the numbers, and those numbers align with the goals of the organization. And they'll buy into what you're trying to do, and I promise you'll get people that are willing to stay the extra hour or put the extra time in or work on the weekends, and that's the only way to do it. Number two reason why I think you should do this is for trust. Because if you can get their trust and they trust you, like the amount of trust that is involved in an employer-employee relationship is not talked about enough. And that is, they are trusting you as the employer to provide work for them, provide a place that they can come earn a paycheck for their family or to, pay their way through college or whatever it is. They're trusting you to make that a reality. They're trusting you to create an environment that they can come to work and feel appreciated, feel like a challenge, feel like it's a place that they can come to and feel safe and not feel judged and those sort of things. They're trusting you. You're trusting them to do a good job, make money for the company, go out and be good to customers, make great products, come up with great ideas, create inventive ways of changing your industry or making the company better. You're trusting them to do those things. Now, if you bring it to a different level and show them all the behind the scenes that most people would not show, it shows to them that you trust them. Now, people will violate that trust, and employees will use these numbers against you, or maybe they'll go out and tell competitors or whatever, and that will happen. But I promise you the upside of doing this, the amount of trust that because this is the thing, when you start squeezing things in terms of efficiency within your business, in the back of their mind, they're wondering why. And if in their mind they're thinking that you're just doing that because you want extra money in your back pocket, that is very rarely enough of a motivation for employees to go the extra mile. Very rarely. Now, if they know that by doing that better efficiency, that money is going to be used to grow the company, which will give them a place to a better place to work or an environment, or you're saving up for a better shop or more equipment, or you're going towards a certain profit margin that the organization needs to sustain your lifestyle, and then that's like the cap or whatever you make to make it very clear what the organization's goals are, and there's that trust that is built up there. They don't have that question mark of, well, what's the point of making this route more efficient if it's just more money just going to the owner? And so it's not to say that that's not where the money's going. It's the fact that they have the question mark and they don't have the answer to it unless you give them the behind the scenes look into the financials. That trust is absolutely imperative. Number 3, accountability. This is something that we got to talk about more, is our accountability to our employees who come and work for us every single day and come and work on our dreams and our goals and what we have and our future and our vision of what a company wants to be, and they come and work for us. Yes, we get a paycheck, and yes, there's that exchange of value, and they get money, and they're able to buy things and products and all that. But at the end of the day, they are coming and spending their most valuable thing, and that's time. The most valuable thing we have as humans is time, and they're spending that on your business, your future, your goals, and your vision. And so I believe we are accountable to let them know where the company, where is that effort? Where is that extra mile kind of mentality? What's it leading to? What's it give? What is it? Is it, are we doing good? Are we doing bad? Like I guarantee you, if you ask your employees what they think the profitability of your company is, it would be so all over the map. And so when you have that, there's no alignment. They don't know where the company is going. They don't know with profitability. They don't know this. They do not know what the company can do in the future. Can they afford like a new truck? Can they afford a new office space? Can they afford to expand? And what are the goals? Like, why are we trying to make so much money at this company? What's the point? What's the if you have not shared, number one, the goal and the vision and the drive of what the company is all about, that's like step number one. But then behind that, the financials really indicate, they're the really telltale, like they really give they are the litmus test of what the goals and aspirations of that company, whether or not they're being achieved, and also they actually really are the litmus test to even what those goals are. Because you can talk a lot of stuff and put vision statements on the wall, but if you're not spending your money in alignment with those goals and vision of that company, there's a big problem in the future for you. And people will always come back to me and say, well, you shouldn't tell people how to spend money. You should not tell business owners how to run their organization or how to be transparent with their employees. Like, I get this a lot. And people telling me I should not tell other entrepreneurs how to spend their money. And I agree with that. But this is not what I'm talking about. You can spend your money however you want, but be transparent about it with your employees so they don't have all the question marks and they can't trust you and they can't buy into your vision because they have nothing to buy into because you have not given them the level of accountability that they need to go the extra mile. And it just boggles my mind how we think we should have employees that go beyond go the extra mile and do extra things for you and have the big picture in mind, but yet we never give them a glimpse into what that picture is. So I'd really encourage you, take a risk, open up your books, and share what your goals are and how the financial decisions of your business align with those goals. It will do amazing things for your business, and I promise you it'll unlock something within your company. This is Mike Andes, and you've been listening to the Business Bootcamp Podcast. Until next time, be great, because nothing else pays.